Hey everyone, this is Dave with ScreenGeeks, along with Barry and our good friend, the artistic director of the Filmcenter / Denver Film, longtime friend. We've been wanting him to get around forever. This is Keith Garcia. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and you guys? Doing good.
Good. Actually, we just finished recording an episode about Anna and the Apocalypse that's going to release this coming Sunday. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity for us to talk with Keith since he is so intrinsically involved with what goes on at one of our beloved cinemas here in Colorado, and kind of talking about how COVID's messing with everything and what's happening going forward. So, Keith, how are you guys holding up? I guess that should be the first good question I ask, or it might not be good. You might be sick of answering that question.
No, I've come to find that most people didn't really think, we didn't think, certainly, as the actual entities, but movie theaters and the whole world that surrounds them was not, people haven't really jumped into exactly what it means that theaters are closed. It was a shock to us the way it all kind of happened. As we started those first few weeks before everything got shut down, kind of being like, oh, you guys need to take more care about this, reminding people to wash your hands, like masks hadn't come into the story yet. We need to make sure that people aren't really jam-packed in something, all that stuff. We were making those moves, we were changing those aspects of how we operated. And then it was just like, sorry guys, we're just gonna have to close. Like, the city is calling for it. And I remember when we closed, it was like March 16th. And we had a discussion about it, and we're like, well, we're just putting an end date of like, we're going to close until April 3rd. Like, 3 weeks ought to kill this. 3 weeks will be good. But as we got deeper into like 2 weeks in even, it just became more and more apparent that what was needed was not to go back to opening the theaters, but was to start finding all the alternatives. To doing that business. And mind you, that first week, we closed on the Monday, and by that Friday we were hosting virtual cinema screenings on denverfilm.org. That was the immediate, like it was very untested. We were approached by a couple of our regular distributors who were like, hey, we're not sure how this is going to go for everybody, but we were already working on having these titles available for like VOD or on their own platforms. How do you feel about this idea about sharing revenue? We host the film, we give you a link, and you pitch it to your viewers, and then everything that they all the tickets they buy go to you guys. And sounded great. I didn't see any reason, because these are distributors we've worked with many a time before, to doubt them. So we jumped on that real quick, and then just kind of watched it swing around from being like a successful experiment to kind of seeing some wear and tear on the idea of it, suddenly having to sort through, maybe we have too many movies we're showing on denverfilm.org, like to go from programming an intimate 3-screen theater to basically operating a virtual multiplex where we're playing like at the most we had 30 films 1 week. That you could go on to denverfilm.org, go to our virtual cinema page, and there were 30 movies to choose from. And that was like a week that I was like, oh no, like this is like, part of me was just shoveling movies into the pile to just be like, yes, we'll play that one. Yes, that's a good one. Yes, that's fine. But then after a few weeks being like, people are not going to, like, that's literally asking them to pick something out of a pile that they don't even know what's in the pile. And so at that point, starting to become more curatorial with our selections, and then in the midst of that, also figuring out that we needed to take the leap to our own platform. First and foremost, for the Denver Film Festival, we hadn't made a 100% decision that we were going all virtual at that point, but it seemed more and more likely that it was going to happen and that we should be prepared. So we found a platform which is called Eventive that works very well for us as a festival. And in the meantime, since it's going to be a few months until then, we're like, let's just funnel our virtual cinema through here. We'll be in control of the tickets now. We can offer membership discount to our members, and let's get a little more curatorial, especially because at this point, it's not the distributor saying, play our movies, here's a link. It's us saying, hey, I like this movie. Do you mind being on our platform? And it just requires this one very simple step, which is basically they just give us the movie. Mm-hmm. And then we have a secure server where we keep these, and then we do the ticketing, and then it's easier to work with our branding and all this stuff, so we can really make it special. And we launched that on June 26th with a small, I think it was about 8 films, and then we had two big events that were coming up on the platform. One of which was the exclusive screening preview of Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist from director Alexander Philippe. He gave us that movie for a 48-hour window, which is playing right now this weekend. And we were able to do a Q&A with him and William Friedkin, which we pre-recorded earlier this week, which we can just attach to the film, so that when you go to our service to watch it, you watch the movie, and then this bonus content is available for you, and really just for anyone who comes there. And that one we didn't geo-block to just Colorado. That's open to the country. So having an opportunity like that, we really wanted to put that out there for everybody to experience our platform. And then we did a lecture on Thursday around the films of South Korean filmmaker Hong Sang-soo. We've been hosting a couple of their films on our platform. Yourself and Yours, Hill of Freedom, and Woman on the Beach. And those are brand new restorations that we were already playing just before we switched to our new platform. We switched over, and then we had this lecture planned with Adam Graves of Metro State University and Boram Young of UCD. And they just did a little, it was called them in on a Zoom, and they just did a whole lecture, and we ran it through YouTube, so it was live. That one was a live lecture.
Oh, that's cool.
Their students, and then any viewers could ask questions in the YouTube, and then we read them back in real time, and then we also recorded that so that can live. Those 3 films are still going to play on our platform for another week or 2, and then now it's a bonus feature that people have when they watch the films. These Women Plus Film titles will also have additional Q&As, some of them, and we'll indicate where those are. And, you know, the goal is to just make it this living, breathing thing that isn't just a collection of available titles. It's to actually turn it back into what we did at the C, which is curate what's going to go on the screens. The bigger distributors are being a little less hesitant to put stuff on virtual cinema, mostly because the game of video on demand, which is their ultimate goal, is something that those rights are so muddy between what virtual cinema is and what video on demand is. It's like why you won't see an IFC film on our platform, and it's no offense to IFC, it's just that they own their own platform with AMC, and they can't cross those streams, basically. So they're doing gangbuster stuff on their own virtual cinema platform, being able to put their films in drive-ins, which we are also working on some drive-ins here.
Beat me to the punch! Yay!
Yeah, and yeah. So a lot of work right now is just a lot of the work and attention is going into the platform, and just to have it moving and shaking and up and ready for when the festival happens. And then the C Filmcenter, which is the bigger question, I imagine. We're just trying to see what's going on in the world. I mean, some very large theatrical corporations have made some decisions in the last few weeks, most notably like Alamo Drafthouse laid off a large portion of their administrative staff and programmers and creative managers. Basically, I think from the moment that Tenet had to move its date a second time was an indicator that it could happen a third time, it could happen a fourth time, and it could happen to move into 2021 instead. And to try to plan reopening a movie theater around a date that's not sticking. Like when you're already working as a corporation or as a small film society, unlimited budget that is always running out because you're trying to keep people paid and with jobs that are going to keep things moving. But the longer you have to keep pushing from when that other avenue of revenue can come in, sacrifices have to be made, unfortunately. So we're right now just it's not our number one priority at the moment until the world seems to get a little bit better.
That's a responsible position. So as someone who's at elevated risk, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we our goal is not like would not be to reopen and be like, and where is everybody? Come and support us, damn it. It's we know that, and we've put some surveys out to our members and just try to feel the temperature of how people are feeling about theaters. And when we did the first survey, it was probably about 2 months ago, and people were a little more positive as things have gotten worse in the country with COVID. Not via a recent survey, but just via word of mouth, people are becoming a little more negative about it. And, it costs money to reopen the sea and operate it. And if this is the trend when we reopen, then we will have wasted precious funds that we can put into other avenues like virtual cinema, like the Denver Film Festival, like these drive-ins that'll occur. And those things are things that we're hoping will really keep us on a good level for the coming months.
Barry, do you want to chime in with anything? Okay, I've got all kinds of questions, so I'm just going to be the barrage. Like I know a lot of places are doing their best to make things work the best they can. I'm not intending to talk negatively about anyone. It's interesting to me that you folks have gone through and went with a platform and a provider that allows you to watch things not on your phone and your PC, but like I got the Leap of Faith doc this weekend. And so I was able to fire it up on my Roku. I got signed in, it authenticated like a breeze, like most apps should do. And I was off and running. I'm trying to understand why people wouldn't figure that was like a higher priority. And I'm not asking you to read someone's mind, but like how big a priority was that to make sure that you could be as platform agnostic as possible?
I mean, it literally came from us having to feel it out. Like we started watching when the shutdown happened. It affected some film festivals immediately, like Cleveland Film Festival had to make a decision like the week before their festival dates.
South by got hosed.
Yeah, South by got hosed. Cleveland was not on the level in terms of like quantity of films, but South by went, Tribeca went, a few others started going, but Cleveland was like, no, we're gonna try this virtual platform. And so they had like a week's time, a week or two to throw everything, to call up all the filmmakers and distributors and say, can we put you on this platform? Can we put you on this platform? Figure out how that went, figure out how they could ticket, and then let it go. And then have people buy tickets and come to select screenings or short windows or whatever. And they learned a lot, they lost a lot, but they were able to report on everything and share that information with us and other organizations that have more time to look down the road. So we could see what they did, what their pluses and minuses were, and really kind of take that to heart. And then we went, there's about 5 potential platforms out there that we could go into, and we just met with all of them, and we're kind of like, how do you do this? How do you do this? What's your tech support like? What screening options do you have? One of the nice things that we will have in a few weeks is we will have an app, a Denver Film app, that you can watch all this stuff through. And it runs through like Aventive's app, which goes through Roku. Ours will also do the same. But it'll be more specifically, it'll just be us. You don't have to jump through like 2 extra little hoops on it. On Aventive, you just have to find us, but you'll be able to actually just go right to our app if you have it.
Awesome.
And it'll do that. And I don't want to rattle off the other watching options, because I'm gonna miss day one. It'll be like an Apple TV, and then it's not Apple TV yet. But from Roku to others, it'll be available on, and that'll maybe a big deal for the Denver Film Festival, because then it will be an app that you can just go to very easily. Buy an all-access pass for a certain amount of money, and then that just unlocks movies for you whenever you want, and you just schedule them in your app for, I want to watch this one when it's open, and I want to watch this one when it's open, and then schedule your day, and then just spend all day watching your movies and doing that stuff. So playability was definitely something we looked at, and especially because when we were just running virtual cinema, one of the problems was that all these distributors, bless their hearts, all had different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So one used VHX, which is Vimeo, and one used this other one, and one used Eventive, and one used this. So our customers wanting to see a movie would go to our website, be like, oh, I want to see this movie, click it, and be like, oh, this doesn't look like the other one I got. Oh, I have to sign in here too? Okay, let me do this. Let me do that. And then, oh, this doesn't go through Roku, but I can cast it. Okay, let me try that. And that is if you understand how that works.
Yeah,
much
yeah.
less being someone who is being not forced, no one's being forced to, but now that this is a functionality in our world, having to understand how to do it. And I'm kind of one of those people. I knew how to cast things to my TV. I don't have a Roku. I have a smart TV, but then I've never explored working other things other than like Shutter or something like that through the TV. But there's a learning curve for myself as well, and I'm pretty functional in that, much less someone who's like, I don't have a laptop, I have a tablet. What do I do?
So the less friction you can provide the customer, the member, the better, obviously.
Exactly. So that was very important to us for sure.
Cool. One thing that I've kind of noticed that both Tribeca and South by did was they both. I'm not going to ask you to. Well, if you have something to say about it, cool. But is that they both put some of their VR content out on like the Oculus TV app, and just to let that be an access point. I know VR's kind of taken a more and more front and center stage for the Denver Film Festival every year. Is there some kind of thought around doing something like that too?
Absolutely. I mean, just as the way we program films for the Denver Film Festival, we also approached programming virtual content for Denver Film. And it's funny that virtual became the word, which was not our choice. It's just what everyone in this industry started calling it, virtual. It's like you're at the cinema, but you're not. You're not throwing on Oculus, but it's supposed to feel like your movie theater, which I also found funny during this time. One of the things that really spiked in usage was people playing Animal Crossing. Like the release of Animal Crossing, like 2 weeks into the pandemic, like really like turned into this whole other comforting world for people. And I'm sorry, and my COVID brain, my pandemic brain, can't think of simple terms. I caught wind. That's the phrase. I was about to say someone else wind, and that was not going to be the proper.
It's better than breaking wind, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I caught wind of people in Animal Crossing where you can build a world. You can build your house, you build your everything. That were building their houses as cinemas. And then you can run your anything that you watch, your Netflix or whatever, through your Animal Crossing house. So it was a front. In Animal Crossing, their character would pop some popcorn and sit down and turn on the projector, and then they could transition to their Netflix movie or whatever service that they were doing. So I thought that was fascinating.
That's
and interesting.
Awesome.
Like I'm like, that's virtual cinema, right there.
Yeah.
But
well, then you got Twitch doing the Prime Watch parties, which I'm Bezos, whatever. But that's also an interesting new wrinkle in things too.
Yeah, absolutely. We're less about that group experience, although we are working on some stuff with some folks for hopefully some. I mean, one of the most enjoyable things about film festivals is hanging out with everyone at the festival, having conversations with filmmakers, and all this stuff. And one of the many things that's popped out of all this is the idea of rooms. Zoom is kind of like a room factor. There's also other programs that utilize rooms as an idea, and creating opportunities where this film is going to play on our virtual cinema at this time during diff, and then immediately following you can come into this room via this link, like if you bought a ticket, from 9 p.m. till 10 p.m. and the director's there and all the viewers are all there. Like you could have a limit of like 100 people or something, and then everyone can just kind of go there, and within the room you can go to a room and you can talk. Like the director can be in his own little side room, and you can pop in and see, oh, there's only 10 people in here, and everyone's just chatting about the movie or chatting about something else or whatever. It is an extension of everything that gives me hives, just because of the social anxiety. I actually have a lot of social anxiety despite my ability to speak in front of people, but it is an avenue that's like, well, this is all really interesting. Like, who knows how long we're going to be having to practice this stuff, and even when we get past it, which when there is a vaccine, it's not going to be an exact cure-all. It's not immediately going to stop. We're still going to have to adopt things, and people are still going to be just of their own. I mean, obviously the mask wearing, we can't even get people to do that, but the idea of like social distancing, like people are going to keep that up for a while, even if they don't have to. And so just sort of setting into this new world and these new functionalities, like it's all very interesting. And I'm glad that we're at least in the water already with these things, seeing just how deep the water is, how short it is in places, where there's a riptide, all that stuff, so that come next year we can talk other people through it and also just be ready.
Well, I'm sure being a relatively smaller organization, it gives you the freedom and the agility to be able to jump through and test out a lot of other stuff. Like, I was a member of AMC A-List, and I was like, why aren't you letting me have a rental on your streaming service that you've created so you'll keep me giving you money? And they just didn't even think about doing that. So, I mean, seeing the forethought that you folks are putting in, I really appreciate that. And that's why I wanted to have the chance.
Yeah, that was the same thing I felt that way about. I was on the Alamo program, and then they started their own platform, and I was like, cool. Hopefully they can, like, I can get a discount or I can do whatever. And they just were like, they didn't think of the merging or the opportunity to expand what they need, which is revenue. And like I would have kept up. They cut that program, like they paused it so that you weren't being charged per month while theaters are closed. But I'm like, but if you'd had an option where continuing to take my monthly fee, I got access to this stuff or this exclusive stuff, then awesome. I would have loved that. And like, that's why, I mean, the most we had, like I said, is our membership program, which is really good, but it was very important for us to be able to ticket so that we can give members their discount. Like, people weren't butts about it when we didn't have the discount available, because we just had to run with the different distributors' prices.
Yeah.
But because they were happy to support us, which we are very appreciative of them doing that. But it's nice to be able to come back and be like, and for supporting us, here's $5 off the regular ticket price that you were paying to feel like a member again, to sort of get engaged with us again and be part of what you miss so much, because we miss seeing those people. We miss seeing our members. We miss hosting that stuff. And we don't get to see them. These little ticks appear in our little reports that people are watching the movies and members are watching these movies, but we don't get to see them, so we don't know who it is. Well, if you dig deep, you can find out who it is. Yeah,
if you want to run all the reports and stuff, yeah.
I'd rather see a face pop up than a tick, so...
Fair enough. And I'm sure that it's an entirely different world of negotiating something like trying to do like a season pass with screenings or whatever. So the fact that Denver Film's making that effort, I really appreciate that. And we've sucked away your entire evening, so I don't want to take any more of your time. However, Keith, thanks so much for taking time with us. Tell us where to go again so we can, everyone across the country can be involved with what's going on.
denverfilm.org is where you can go down the rabbit hole, jump into our Eventive platform. Eventive, which hosts all this for us as a platform, also has their own app. We will soon have a Denver Film app via that one. But Eventive's app exists right now, and that's one that'll automatically open up in Roku.
Okay, cool. And I'll put links to all that in the post that goes along with this video too.
Yeah, and you just have to, you click onto it, you sign up, you probably put a credit card in there, so it'll charge that, and then you just get to watch movies.
Awesome. Sweet. Keith, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us, man. I really appreciate it. It's good chatting with you.
Yeah, good chatting to you too. Seeing you guys in semi-flesh.
Yeah.
And yeah, hope we can all be in a room together again soon.
Absolutely. All right. We'll catch you folks at the next episode that posts this coming Sunday.
All right.